Welcome back to the program, everyone. And of course, as always, welcome to Oblivion. We are the Cinebytes, and today we have a little bit something special for you. This is interview number 2 on the pod.
Ooh.
And we have a very special guest, one Mr. Steve Uncle Creepy Barton. How's it going, man?
Hey guys, how are you?
Fantastic now. we were doing a little thing the other day with do you remember that Rob Schneider making copies thing? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
well, we were doing the Steve Barton, Uncle Creepy, the creepster, making creepies.
I chose that name as like a pen name in the infancy of the internet, when I first got started, and it was an homage to an old magazine that I used to read as a little kid called Creepy.
Oh,
And
there you
Uncle
go.
Creepy was like their crypt keeper of sorts.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh,
had I
okay.
have known the name would follow me the rest of my life, I might have been a little bit more selective here and there. But fuck it,
Right.
it's brought me
Right.
nothing but good things. And yeah, man,
Fuck it
thank you.
indeed.
I mean, can I just tell you, I've been doing I've been in the entertainment industry for I think July is gonna be 31 years.
Oof.
And I fucking love the name of your podcast.
Yeah?
Why
Oh
did
man.
nobody come up with Cinebytes? That just makes so much sense. And I was
Hell
like,
yeah.
fuck, I really wish I would have thought of that. So kudos to you guys, man.
That means a lot coming
That's
from you,
awesome.
man.
Yeah, thank you.
And speaking of the Cinebites, once again, I think the main message that we're going to convey here today to people is if you see a bald guy with a beard, you can probably trust his taste in horror.
Yeah.
So that being said, I'm Dusty Lane,
I'm Jason Mitchell.
and we are the Cinebites.
Hello?
I came for you. We have such sights to show you.
Was an excellent day for an exorcism.
I said, I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash your brains.
I want to play a game.
What's the boogeyman?
As a matter of fact, it was.
And we're back. Thank you once again, everybody, for joining us. We appreciate it. Once again, Uncle Creepy Man, how you feeling today?
It's funny. I have like a cold for the past week, so every now and then you're gonna hear me going or coughing, but I swear I'm not on coke. It's all good.
That's
I
actually fine, man, because I actually saw your post the other day saying something about you had a cold, and then yesterday I woke up. It didn't help that I had a gig the night before, so my voice was trash. It was the first time we'd played full band in a while, so I was like really selling the high harmonies on it. But by
Mhm.
the end of the night, and then the next morning, my voice was completely trash. But not only that, I woke up yesterday having some fucking sniffles going on, and I was like, I don't know how that son of a bitch did it, but he gave me his cold. How do
Dude.
you transmit that via internet?
Well, do you ever see the ring with the Japanese tape and the curse tape and
Yeah.
7 days? I gave you 7 hours, dude.
Right.
I gave you 7 hours. You started sniffling,
Good
and the shit
enough.
just progressed from there, man.
But it was only like a 24-hour like I feel all right now, so we'll
I
see how it
suck in
happens.
math. You could be completely right. I don't do math. Why I'm married. I have a wife that does math. I just give her money and like, can you just do math and leave it that way?
Yes, please.
All right, so we wanted to start off with you got your start at Fangoria. Can you
Yeah,
fill us
dude.
in about that a little bit? That's
I
huge.
heard a little bit about this. It all started with a little Jurassic Park toy, am I right?
Yeah, good on you, man. It's a really weird story. As you could tell, I'm 51 and I have the brain of a 13-year-old. Means that
Anyone with horror sensibilities does, I think.
I love toys, as you could see, and
Oh hell yeah.
um, you know, the woman I was with at that time, and this was just when like the internet was starting to cook.
Right.
eBay was like a new thing. That this is how fucking absurd it is and old I am. It's like first the dinosaurs pulled and then came and I was born or some shit. And so she knew I was 5 years old, and she was doing thoughtful things like going on eBay and finding random shit that I would like.
Oh shit! Shots fired! Shots fired!
That was for my wife, and and she found this fucking roaring Jurassic Park cage, right? Which
Hell yeah.
essentially all it really was like a cardboard box, and you pressed a button, and it went raw. It looked like one of the containment units, but I press that motherfucking button all day. You give me that shit, I'll just sit
Yeah.
there, right?
Hell yeah.
Probably
And
wore it out.
you know, the dude who was selling it ended up living down the street from me, so there was no reason for him to ship it. He was like, dude, I'll just walk this over to you.
Right.
And he calls me at like 11 in the morning, and I'm like, hey man, what's up? He's like, hey Steve, this is so and so. This is Tony. I have your eBay item. Can I just bring it over now? And I'm like, sure. And I go outside and I sit on my stoop, and I look to the corner, and here comes Tony Timpone from Fangoria magazine
Oh shit,
with
that
a
Tony.
fucking Jurassic Park box under his arm. I'm looking at him like, dude, you're Tony Timpone. And he's like, well, yeah. I was like, you know, that to me, that was like inconsequentially, like fucking if one of the Sex Pistols came to your house, you know what I mean?
Right,
Like
right.
just out of nowhere for a random reason. So
Sure.
I was like, fuck, dude, this is awesome. And we started hanging out, and you know, we became fast friends. It didn't take him long to see that I knew my shit, you know.
Right.
So he gave me a job, which means I was doing shit and not getting paid, because that's what we do.
Mhm.
Right.
Working for Fango as the moderator of their message boards,
Oh,
which is
wow.
actually where I met my wife, who should be on eBay looking for cool shit for me, because my birthday is coming up.
Hey, if you put that on a message board, I might have to do something about it. All right.
Right? So, you know, he gave me the opportunity. I mean, dude, I was fucking working for Fangoria, you know? I don't give a shit about the money. I honestly, I've never done any of this stuff for money.
No, you're just like a pig in shit around
Yeah,
all of
dude.
that, you
So I'm
know?
just chilling and fucking, and before you know it, he introduced me to this other company who shall not be named, because every time I do, they arrive like Candyman, and I fucking hate them.
Oh,
And
shit.
you know,
Might have an inkling of
and,
where you're going with that.
yeah, and then Dread Central started as like the news area of this specific site.
Mhm.
Once they proved like the emperor had no pants.
Mhm.
This is all in the book, by the way, in great detail of some of the fucking ludicrous things I was putting up with.
Spoilers, everybody.
They fired me for essentially being me. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Because
Mhm.
I'm not a yes guy.
Right.
I don't fucking play well with people who want a yes guy. I may not
Right.
always tell you what you want to hear, but I'm going to tell you what you need to hear.
Sure.
And they hated that shit. And I was like, fuck you, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And they
They only
fired
hate
me.
it when you don't agree with them.
Right. And they fired me on my answering machine, right?
Oh, hell no.
And I still have this recording too. And
I'll save that
I
forever.
transcribe it in the book. And I'm sitting there, and I'm laying in bed, and I'm listening to myself get fired. And this guy is throwing the chubby, white, yuppie, fat guy rant at me. Like,
Wow.
you can hear him breathing heavy and little blood vessels popping. And I'm laying there laughing, right? And after I was fired, I stopped laughing, because, yeah, I wasn't getting paid anyway.
It's
You
not
know,
that funny
ooh,
at
big
that point,
fucking
yeah.
deal. But I had shares in the company, which were worth nothing.
Mhm.
And I just started calling everybody that I had brought in as the staff, and one by one they all quit. You know, and it was like this weird revolution, because all of a sudden this guy had a company with absolutely nobody working for him. You know, and we decided to open up Dread Central. It was on July 6th. I don't even remember, the 2006, I think.
Sounds right.
I don't know, because I've done a lot of things since then. And I was editor in chief of that for 18 years, man, before the walls came crashing down in my life, as they
Right.
often do.
It's a
And
hell of
I
a run, though.
try to find another way to survive, you know?
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. And shortly after Fangoria, what else did we have there, Jason?
You did some work at the
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Times in the book because I don't want to. You
Okay.
know,
We only said it once here. I think we're safe.
I think I actually referred to the respective idiots as Dick and Jerkoff. Those were their names. That's their names in the book.
I like it.
Okay.
I like it. What's jerk off? Because I know Dick is like a short for Richard, but then jerk off, I can't equate that to anything.
Well, well, honestly, it has nothing to do with their actual names. It's just
Sure.
who they are. One is a complete dick, and the other one's a total jerk off. So,
Right.
There you go.
You
Which
know,
is why
so-
they work so well together.
well, the jerk off has to jerk off the dick,
Exactly.
but the jerk off don't have anything to do without the dick. It's just air. I don't know. I didn't really put that much thought into it beyond. Well, he's a dick and he's a jerk off. So,
So I didn't know, since you're no longer affiliated with Dread Central, right?
no, because wow, they got some names. They have their own set of names.
Sure. Yeah.
What had happened was, I'm sorry. You ask me questions, I just go. I'm
Just do it,
not
man.
the type of
Fine.
interviewee that's going to sit here and make you wait and try to figure out how to get me
Right.
to talk.
Never apologize for anything, please.
So I did Dread Central for 18 years. And of those 18 years, I didn't make a cent for like 8 years. You know, and that's some sort of weird perception that fans, especially the fans who don't like what you're saying, they're all, oh, you know, I mean, the studios are obviously paying off to say they like their movies. And it's like, hi, could someone please pay me? You know,
Right. Right.
I want to sell out, you know.
We're going through kind of the same thing here, because like we just got started in October, and we've mostly done just the movie review so far. You mentioned the name earlier. I appreciate that, by the way. Just obviously Cinebytes are a big deal in horror, but I figured Cine because movies, Bytes because digital files of
It's
information.
fucking brilliant. It really is.
Thank you, man. But instead of toothpick head, or I'm sorry, excuse me, instead of pinhead, I went toothpick head, and Jason's the chatterer eating a bunch of popcorn. So
That's fucking great. That really is.
but yeah, we're just getting off the ground, still trying to figure out, in what ways to promote. So I totally get, where you're coming from with, putting in a bunch of work to something and maybe not high yield for a while until you kind of get
God, no.
established.
I mean, I mean, when I quit those dick and jerk off, and we opened up Dread Central, I started with like a fucking 18-person staff,
Right.
you know, and I told them all, look, we ain't got no money. You know, you're doing this, you're going to do it because you like doing it.
It's about the passion. Yeah.
Right.
So after 8 years, we finally started making money, and how we made money on anything that we did make, which was hardly anything. We always paid the writers first. Us, whatever. I didn't take fucking anything for the majority of it, neither did, excuse me, neither did my partners at the time. And, we started making money. And I mean, at the time, my typical day was I was working at fucking GameStop, right?
Right.
So, I would wake up at like 4 a.m. and I'd update the site for like the people to have shit there on the East Coast for when they wake up. And then I'd go to work for fucking 4, 6, 8 hours, whatever the shift was. And I'd come home and I'd update the site again. And then I would take a break to eat. And then I would update the site again. And I would usually be updating the site till like maybe 2 in the morning, 1 in the morning. And then I would go to sleep for 3 hours and wake up and do it all over again.
Right.
And I did that for a very long time, And once we started making money, it's like, it was interesting. It's like, and some people are listening going, oh, this is so fucking dull. But when you're working for yourself, you're constantly on the clock,
Right.
And the thing I'm most proud of about my Dread Central, and I'll say my Dread Central because it's a vastly different thing now.
Sure.
I'm sorry for the coughing again. It's just
No,
cold
you're fine,
won't
man.
go away.
No problem.
Yeah, you and your editor's going to be like, fucking shit, where's the sound? Anyway, sorry about that, buddy.
I am the audio editor. We have a video guy, but
Oh, good. Well, then fuck you. Anyway, I'm going to cough more. No. So, like, let's say you're Warner Brothers and you have It Chapter whatever coming out, you look at which websites are high volume traffic wise and you place an ad there. And if it does well, you keep coming back to where your ads are paying off because you're reaching the audience, obviously, that you want to reach.
right.
And then social media happened. This was several years later. And instead of buying ads on the websites like they normally would have, they were spending that money to open up Instagram pages that would last for 2 weeks.
Right.
Or, this or that and the other thing. And then they'd be like, hey, can you do a story about our Instagram page? I'm like, oh, you mean a thing that's putting me out of business? Sure. Why not? So very quickly we went from making several thousand a month to like 500.
Mm-hmm.
And
Wow.
that happened like you would see a fucking lead balloon drop,
Right.
And the internet crashes in various ways every now and then, especially .coms.
Yeah.
And we sat there and we decided that we had one of two choices. We could either A, launch a Patreon, which we did, and ask for $1 a month. That's it, just $1. And the user would get the site ad-free, no ads at all, no pop-up ads, no nothing. Just the news, the reviews, whatever. And nobody wanted to pay for content, even just $1,
Mm-hmm.
which is very disheartening too. You're
It
doing
is.
shit and you've done it for like so many years and there are literally millions of people that visit your website each month and none of them will leave $1 on the table. A fucking $1, dude.
People get crazy when it comes to money, man. We kind of feel your pain. Like in addition to, we both have a day job, a 9 to 5 as well. We work at the same audiobook publisher. We sit next to each other, so we have to do all this in our spare time. So I definitely feel where you're coming from on that. And then we do have a website where you can subscribe. I think we have 2 subscribers at the moment. We're floating around like 100 downloads a month. It's not that, but you know what? God damn it, we're keeping at it until we get there, man. We just want our main objective is just to share that passion, have fun doing it.
Absolutely. The Patreon didn't work, which kind of blew my mind. I'm like, really, dude, $1? $1 a month is like too much. If someone finds $1, it means I lost it. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, it's a fucking $1.
Right.
And then they would get the site without all the shit that everybody complains about,
Mm-hmm.
And that failed. So the next 2 choices were fold or get a parent company. And hang on, can you stop the dog from rattling her toy around and screaming like the fucking werewolf that she is? Anyway,
Smacking it on the mic stand.
the dog knows when I'm doing shit in an auditory manner. It knows.
Right.
I'm
They're
gonna
smart.
find shit and ways to make noise you didn't even think of. So we ended up getting a parent company. And one of the things I was most proud about with my Dread Central, as I said, is we were never owned by anybody. We were always independent,
Mhm.
And the thrust of Dread Central was always to give the indie filmmaker as much of a voice as the studio filmmaker, to level that playing field. And that's what we did. And I'm so proud that we got to do that, at least under me, for 18 years. And this company came in, Epic Pictures Group, and they were like, oh, well, yeah, we don't want to change anything. We're buying your voice. We want your opinion. And then we want to eventually spin off the Dread Central title into a home video label for our horror releases. And I'm like, okay, I can live with that, and especially if they didn't want anything, they didn't want to change anything. Funny how that never seems to be the case, though, right?
Right.
And,
Too good to be true.
and it took like a year or so, but they made me completely miserable.
Yeah.
Every decision I made was wrong. Every idea I had was shit. And that was the norm in my life for 18 years. They basically gaslit me into thinking I sucked. And when you got somebody multiple people telling you you suck 100,000 times a day, you
Eventually, you
stop
had no choice
believing
but
that
to
shit.
believe it, right? Yeah.
Wow.
And plus, and you're gonna find out real soon, when you do this, you only ever really hear about shit when you fuck up.
Right.
When you're
Yeah.
doing well, you don't hear from once in a blue moon. You hear from somebody that's like, "Oh, great job, man," but
Right.
it's not the norm. So
Yeah.
the time came to spin off the website. So sorry.
No, you're fine.
Oh,
To
you're
get
good.
to the video portion of it, right? So my job, because everything else I did sucked, and I should have figured this was gonna suck too, but my job was at first to go through all these movie submissions that they had and find the one that I thought would be bankable. And every fucking movie they sent me was terrible. Just
Right.
terrible. Like shit. I'm not, I mean, Dread Central at that point, that's my identity. That's my name. That's something I worked nearly 2 decades to really make mean something. And I was like, this is fucking awful. I was immediately regretting it. And then one day, Damien Leone sent me an email. He's like, hey man, I have this horror movie. I'm not having any luck getting it out there. Do you think maybe you could watch it and give me a quote? And at that point, I was just like, anything to get me away from this pile of shit that was
Right.
laid in front of me. So I'm like, sure, dude. Right. So I watch it. And of course, it ended up being Terrifier.
Hmm.
And then I watched it again and I watched it again. And I said to him, what are you doing with this? He's like, absolutely nothing. We're like this close to self distributing it. I'm like, don't do that. Give me a
Right.
few. Right. So I called Epic and I'm like, listen, this is the one. Uh, this is it. This is the one. This represents everything I want to be the first release from Dread Central. A hard ass, gritty, motherfucking violent movie that makes you
Yeah.
go, holy shit, I can't believe that just happened on screen, right?
Right.
That's how you make a motherfucking statement. And they ended up acquiring it. And they fucking hated it, dude. They hated it. They were like, they made my life even more of a living hell. Because not
Wow.
only did I drop the ball on the website shit, but now I made them spend money on something they absolutely fucking hated. And
Hmm.
I heard everything from this is the worst acquisition we've ever made to we have to edit this. And I'm like, dude, if you edit this movie, it's one of 1,000 movies.
Right.
What makes this movie special is how far it goes. You
Right.
can't cut that, right?
Hmm.
Every day was an uphill fucking battle, dude. Every day. And it got to the point where things got so bad and so heated between me. They were even making me argue with Damien, and I never argued with Damien.
Oh
And
wow.
it got so bad that in one of our million masturbatory meetings that we have to have every day so people
Sure.
could throw around ideas and pat each other on the back for how great those ideas are, which they're never going to fucking implement anyway. And they were giving me shit, and I'm like, you know what, guys, you bought this thing. If you release it and it doesn't do exactly what I think it's going to do, you can have my company. I will walk the fuck away.
Fair
And
Yeah.
enough.
that's the point I was at. And you know what? That's me, man. I don't give a shit if you're the president of the motherfucking United States. I will tell you, go fuck yourself if you push me too far.
There's been a few that I would love to. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. And they had at this point pushed me beyond too far. And now I stopped thinking that I sucked and I was getting angry. And there's nothing worse, I shit you not, than me angry with an agenda, you know?
There we go.
And
Right.
because I'm creative, man. I'll come up with shit, right? And
We're staring at the real world manifestation of Art the Clown. Here we go.
yeah, dude, I'm just like, but anything I come up with is real.
Hmm.
The reason I've been successful over 30 years in this business, and the reason why, I don't know why, I guess I know why, that I'm a beloved figure in the industry is because I didn't have to lie to get to where I got to, you
Yeah,
know?
it's no bullshit, you know?
Right.
I'm me, I'm unapologetic about it. I don't give a fuck, you know?
People appreciate that more than you might realize, you know?
Again, you don't hear that, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And
Right.
they took me up on the offer because I think they thought that was the quickest way to get rid of me, you know, because this was gonna fail.
Right. Just a means to an end.
But they made a terrible mistake, and that was they got the movie on Netflix,
Hmm.
and people started finding it. And all of a sudden, this little movie that I was an absolute moron for fucking putting my career on the line for ended up being their best seller. And I
Yeah.
don't just mean under like just the Dread Central label. I mean one of their absolute best hand over fist, fastest selling titles ever.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden, weird shit was happening. Like people were painting murals of this character in fucking Germany and New
Yeah.
York, Paris, and all over the fucking world. And that
Hell
was
yeah.
the most validating thing for me, man, because
Oh
I
yeah.
didn't know what the fuck I was talking about, right?
Hmm.
So then I told them to go fuck themselves anyway. That was the month, you know? And if I had to go out on any note, bringing the world what they consider to be a new horror icon, what more could I do with Dread Central? You
Yeah,
know?
Right.
And those aren't my words, those are the fan words.
of
You
course.
can't make a midnight movie. You can't say you got a fucking new horror icon. You can only your only job as a filmmaker is to make the best movie you can. It's the
Yeah.
fans that got to give you
Yeah.
that. You
Right. The
know,
rest isn't up to you. Yeah.
Right.
it's got to find its audience. That audience, if they love it, got to be loud. That's what.
Mhm.
And I was terrified after that. Pardon the pun. Because now once again, I found myself with no money. You know, what am I going to do? I'm going to go back to fucking retail, right?
Right.
I mean, it was a scary time, and I was fucking depressed. And
Mhm.
again, all in the book. Such
Right.
colorful detail as you would imagine. Um, and I said to Damien, because Damien was like, we're going to do part two. And I'm like, dude, I have to be involved in this. And it wasn't because it was all I had. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Very much at that moment, that really was all I had. And I said, I'll work for free. Let me show
Right.
you what I can do. And I think everybody saw what I did. Uh, that movie went on to explode, and I put on what amounted to literally a social media clinic for 2 years, you know? And that movie ended up everywhere. And then the cool stuff started happening with people puking, and I'm like, holy fuck,
Yeah.
right?
Hell yeah.
And that
There was
was and people are like, oh, that's brilliant marketing. I'm like, marketing? We weren't even fucking smart enough to think of it. And it ended up Damien, Phil Falcone. I was never on set for any of that shit.
Sure.
But my job came when it came to closing the deal for distribution, and I would advise when Damien would ask me questions or show me clips. And but what a producer does, the producer generally finds money and makes shit happen. And I
Mhm.
make shit happen like a motherfucker.
Right.
And
With that Uncle Creepy name, man. Throw it around.
you know, if it was one of the best times in my life because again, it was that that validation.
Mhm.
But through this whole thing, I did miss something. I missed being able to help the indie filmmakers like I did with Dread Central.
Right.
That's where all the cool shit comes from. That's where you find the next Raimi. That's where you find the next Damien Leone, if you will. It's
Mhm.
in the indie side of things. So, guy named
That's where the
Jesse,
most passion.
yeah, dude.
Mhm.
So this guy named Jesse Baget came to me, and he's like, he had released the original All Hallows Eve, which turned out to be like a vehicle for my throat is so fucking dry for Damien Leone's short films, including Terrifier.
Right.
The short film in All Hallows Eve ended up being kind of like a proof of concept for Terrifier, if you
Right.
will. And being that all this shit was going on, I didn't even know there was a part two, you know?
Right.
I did, but I didn't. I think he came to me once and he said, because Jesse and I are old friends, he's like, if you had to do a jack-o'-lantern mask, how would you do it? And I drew a quick sketch and I sent it to him and he used that for the cover. And I was like, okay, that's
Damn.
awesome.
There you go.
So, but
Hell
that's
yeah.
literally the only thing I did on All Hallows Eve too. And while all this crazy fucking Terrifier stuff was going on, he was putting together three. And what he was doing was he was, filmmakers filming whatever. And then I think a couple of them dropped out. And he was like, Steve, I know that you're super busy, but I'd like to do, All Hallows Eve 3 or All Hallows Eve Trickster, as it's called, which is
Mhm.
streaming now on Tubi, I think, or it's streaming somewhere.
Right.
Anyway, so he's like, do you know any filmmakers that could possibly have a pre-existing short because the deadline was coming, that maybe they would be interested in having distributed and become part of this anthology? And I'm like, of course I do. I mean, one of the cool things about what I got to do at Dread Central, people would send me, it was like every time I'd go to the fucking mailbox, it was like Christmas. I'd have all this shit to watch. And I'm selfish. I only do this because I want to watch cool shit.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I was like, okay. And then I helped him get a couple of shorts into the movie. And I said to him, jokingly, I'm like, if you let me pick all the fucking shorts, this shit would be banging, right? And and we laughed. And then like 6 months later, he got back to me. And Jesse is working with Ryan Swenner, who put us together.
Right.
Mhm.
And
We work with his wife, actually.
there you go. And he's like, did you mean what you said? And I'm like, well, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? I've said a lot of shit and I've drank a lot since then. And Lord, whatever else. And he's like, would you want to curate? And I'm like, okay, let me think, and I'm sorry. I hung up the phone with him and I'm like, if this could be nothing and be upfront and honest about it, nothing but a way to get people with these good short films to have a whole new audience exposed to their work, that's what I want to do. The end game, like Damien Leone with Terrifier, would be somebody sees this dude short and they go make a feature version of it.
Mhm.
So I said to Jesse, listen, I will find the movies, I will pick the movies because if I'm putting my fucking name on it, that shit's gonna be good, right?
Right.
At least
Oh,
it's
yeah.
gonna be as good as I could hope for.
You need like the creepy stamp of approval.
Yeah, so like a certified thing on a pack of meat.
Hell yeah.
So we found these really cool shorts, and I'm like, and Jesse and I were in agreement when you submit a short, one of the things we both stand on is I'm gonna die because my throat is closing. So Jesse stands on my throat, and sorry. So the most important thing to us. There were two most important things. The filmmakers that submit their films to us, they have to get paid,
Mhm.
right? And they have to be able to keep their intellectual property. You
Right.
know, I don't need anyone's intellectual property. I want people to take that shit and make something even cooler with it. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
So we have some really cool plans and some really cool shorts coming up. I think in October we've actually got enough. I don't know if I can announce this yet but there'll be a whole new spin on All Hallows Eve coming October.
Okay.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's fucking cool. And we just started putting together these anthologies because it has to be. A lot of people put together these short anthologies where they collect anyone's short and they try to make it sound like it was shot specifically for one movie, like Creep Show. And
Right.
you end up watching it, it becomes painfully obvious after like 10 minutes that this is not the case here. And they're trying to weave like this weird wraparound. I'm like, no, dude, this is bullshit. You're lying to people.
Right.
So I'm very clear that what this is a collection of work from
Mhm.
filmmakers who have talent that need to get their work seen. And that's what I did with Dread Central.
Yeah.
And it's important, man, because nobody's doing that shit for them. And when you make a short film, anyone who's done it knows that it has a very finite lifespan. You know,
Mhm.
you make a short film, if you're lucky, you get to do a festival run, and then after that it ends up living on YouTube or Vimeo or
Right.
someplace where nobody's ever really going to see it. You gotta hope that somebody will weed through all the white noise out there, because let's face it, making films has become easier. You can do it on your computer. So now
Right.
trying to find a good short film in the middle of fucking things like YouTube where everybody's making shorts, it sucks. And your films end up dying. So I'm only really interested in pre-existing films that need a push
Right.
to open it up to another audience. And I think Jesse and Ryan and myself working together to do this and get these things out there, I think that's probably one of the most helpful things we could do for the
Right.
horror industry. And I'm very proud of that. You know, that's one of the things that I love. And I love to be able to be in a position
Mhm.
where my name can be used for something good. Because
Right.
when Terrifier 2 blew up, right now I have an inbox and it's just filled with everybody and their grandmother who wants to work with me, and people that wouldn't have peed on me if I was on fire 3 years ago.
Right.
You know? I got a long memories. Yeah, I ain't doing that shit, right? I'm only working with the people I like and working with them for the right reasons.
Mhm.
And Jesse and Ryan are creating something really special with their overall vision for where this thing is going to go. And I'm just happy to help them out in that, you know?
Hell yeah. Yeah, you
That was a
mentioned
really long fucking answer.
as long as they need to be, man. We got all the time in the world.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, you're mentioning like the anthology thing. I did scroll past something in your IMDb called 1 Minute Horror. I was kind of curious about that. If it fell into the same sort of thing, but you
All
mentioned
right.
also that. Oh, go ahead.
IMDb is where I go to find out what I'm working on. Okay. What a lot of people don't understand about IMDb is it's user generated content.
Right.
So
Right.
anybody could say that you're working on or associated with anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's shared on my IMDb. I have no clue what the fuck it is. I don't know what Eyes of a Panther is.
Sure.
Oh,
You know what I mean? I don't know what the fuck that is.
Yeah.
And
That's
I
something that
tried
needs
changing
curated
it
a
and
little
it
better.
just keeps coming back. And
Right.
but 1 Minute Horror was something I'm not really associated with, but I may have done a story on it for Dread Central, and maybe I got a thanks in the production, and that's cool. I
Well,
love
good
that
to
shit.
know. That's why we're doing this, man.
Yeah, man.
But
So,
back to something that matters, though. You mentioned like All Hallows Eve being like a proof of concept for Terrifier. That's kind of how I personally viewed Terrifier being a proof of concept for what ended up being Terrifier 2, which is
mhm.
Terrifier on steroids. Just blow it up bigger and better, and more development. Well, I don't know if you can call it development necessarily for art, but just rounding him out a little bit more. And if anybody can talk to you about the gore, it's this guy sitting to my right.
I loved it. I loved it.
I think
I didn't think you could top the first one. You
oh
know,
the well
to say
Neither did we.
the mashed potatoes were a little much for me personally.
Damien's a mad genius. He really is. And like 9 people worked on that movie. It's the smallest crew you can imagine.
Oh wow.
And they
Crazy.
all
Yeah.
busted their ass and did something so cool. And I'm very lucky to have been counted among them as one of the integral people that got that shit over the finish line and
Hell
brought
yeah.
it to theaters, you know? And it's one of the brightest spots in my life. Excuse me. And it's another chapter in the motherfucking book.
Right.
Uh,
Too many
yeah, man.
spoilers, man. Relax. It's coming
Yeah,
out soon enough.
yeah. It's cool, you know? I'm very glad and humbled by the fans. You know, I mean, I just started doing convention appearances because I never thought anybody would give a shit about me. You
Right.
know?
Same boat.
And so I started doing it, and all these people, it's like I'm never not blown away
Hmm.
by the response. And it isn't just for Terrifier. Of course, that's a part of it, but it's because of the myriad of other fucking things I did, you know? Dude, we were sitting there my wife and I, and their tables cooking, and somebody walks by with a poster, and I'm like, holy shit, I worked on that. I completely forgot, you know?
Hmm.
I've done so many things over 30 years, and it's literally hard for me to keep track of them. And I'm very grateful to be able to do that, you know? And when
Absolutely.
you find out that somebody legitimately appreciates what you did, or you touched somebody's life, or they watched something you did, or you had something to do with when they were in a really dark fucking place and it pulled them out of it, that's awesome, man. It's the most I could ever ask for.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. There was, speaking of films, let's just go through a little bit of a list of things that you've worked on, or at least that IMDb claims that you've worked on. Jason, did you put that together?
The first one that I saw was Never Sleep Again. That
Ooh.
was amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, that was
I
also the mantra of the whole fucking production.
Oh, I bet.
We also have Allegoria.
Yep.
Allegoria was great.
That keeps popping up on my I think it's on Shutter, right?
It's like
Whatever it's on, it
watching
keeps popping up on my queue, and I'm like, I gotta check that fucking thing
Spider
out.
One from the band Powerman 5000, who's also Rob Zombie's brother.
Mm.
He came to me and he's like, again, I have this thing you want to check out. And I'm like, sure. And it was good. He's such a talented filmmaker, dude. It's like he has I hate when people label him Rob Zombie's brother. No, he's
Right.
his own thing. He
Yeah.
does his own thing. He has his own style. And he's great. And what appealed to me about his work is Spider is very much into like that whole Twilight Zoney fucking vibe. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I
Gotcha.
love that.
So that's what we get from Allegoria a little bit.
That's what Allegory is. Going back to Never Sleep Again, real quick. That was right damn in the middle of my tenure with Dread Central. And it was the first thing I've ever worked on professionally.
Hmm.
And that project was so fucking huge
Right. Yeah, you can tell.
that there was so much to do. So even anyone who had a little something to do with it had a full table of shit, you know?
Right.
The best thing that came out of my entire career, easy to pinpoint. It's when I was doing Dread Central, I had a lot on my plate, and I was meeting all these people that I grew up watching,
Hmm.
you know, and George Romero was my idol,
Yeah.
you know, Sid Haig was my fucking idol. These are two people that played such a huge part in my life in terms of guidance. They were my mentors, you know. How
Right.
fucking cool is that? How lucky
Yeah.
am I to have George Romero and Sid Haig as fucking mentors that I could call and ask advice? That's like fucking Bigfoot deeming you cool enough to know he exists, right?
Right.
Yeah, agreed.
And
That was good timing on that. That was actually our next question on the queue here.
another thing I've learned to do is I learned to read where conversations are going. Anyway,
You're doing a damn fine job.
I'm good at that shit. So having them in my life was it's the biggest gift you can imagine. You know, and when they passed, to say I had a void in me is an understatement, you know.
Right.
There's so many things that they taught me, not just professionally, but personally, you know. They taught me how to stand up for myself
Yeah.
while dealing with people in the industry. And more importantly, they taught me how to treat people and
Right.
how to expect to be treated. And they both gave me such a volume of information and wisdom. And in a way, when it came to working on things like Never Sleep Again, I'm like, dude, I'm fucking overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. And they would walk me through that.
Yeah.
They gave me all the tools I needed to to get to where I am now, you know?
Yeah.
And I miss them every day, man. They were the
bet.
coolest motherfuckers
Never
ever.
had the pleasure of meeting them myself, but I can imagine they both give out. They just exude this vibe of calm, cool, collected mentorship. It's just that no bullshit again. Like Carpenter is another one
Yeah.
that just like seems like someone you can just hang out with,
They just
relate to on multiple levels.
they never realized what fucking legends they were. And they
And
never
the best
bought
never
into
do.
they just never bought into that shit.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So if it wasn't for those two cats and Daniel Farrens, the director or one of the co-directors of Never Sleep Again, I wouldn't be where I am today. I owe those guys a lot.
Right. Yeah, we all do. I mean, George being the grandpappy of zombies in general.
Right.
Sid Haig. I always loved his energy. For like personally for
If you see
me, I
this,
know.
this is the area I write and work in,
Okay.
and right next to me at all times,
Oh, here we go. Nice, dude.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Love
at
it.
all times, I
Love
don't
it.
write or work on anything without them near me.
It's funny that like Sid Haig for me is the best thing to come out of the House of a Thousand Corpses trilogy personally.
Sure.
I know you have a connection to Bill Moseley in
Oh
particular.
yeah.
And he's great, don't get me wrong, but there was just something about Captain Spaulding's energy on everything, it just everything you watch just tasted damn good. We actually
That was Sid. That
yeah.
really wasn't Captain Spaulding. That was just fucking Sid.
Right. And well, it's because of that. We actually just recorded our episode on House of a Thousand Corpses that has yet to come out. But for the intro to it, like we always do an intro, a little funny bit before our, intro music plays or whatever. But we did from the behind the scenes stuff, the
Oh,
part
yeah.
where they're just like standing around telling knock knock jokes and it's Tiny fucked a stunt for everything.
Tell you. You know what's funny? I have I I have a prop from House of a Thousand Corpses. And you see it on the Blu-ray menu too. And when they recreated Spaulding's I guess
He's just standing there talking to people for like 10 minutes. Like, what the fuck are you still doing here?
prop I have is it's a little wooden box with a yellow front that says no smoking anything.
Oh, okay.
And it's signed by Sid, Bill, Karen Black, everybody.
Hell yeah.
And that's just one of the coolest things I own. Matter of fact, I have that upstairs. I don't even have it on display. I should really dig that out.
Awesome.
Hell yeah, man.
Wait, I do have it?
Spoke too soon?
Hang on, I'll show you it.
Okay.
Apparently,
yeah.
I did take it out.
Standing by. Oh, hell yeah.
Oh,
And also-
nice.
And the back is where everybody signed it.
Oh,
That's what's
yeah.
up.
Very
It still
cool.
lights up. It's a little dusty. It's a little dusty because I forgot it was out there. Apparently.
Yeah. I feel like half the stuff that we put up as a set here today, like some of it was stuff like I actually went to my first con back in August. It was Horror Hound actually. And had such a good time thinking like, oh man, who knows when the next chance I'm gonna get to do something like this is, because I wasn't really familiar with the scene. But like I took my daughter, she's big into horror these days, spent entirely too much money, spent the weekend just going seeing everything, getting all the pictures, all the autographs and everything, and then come to find out they pop up all over the place. So we definitely want to on the channel so far it's been mostly just the movie reviews. We try to take people through it and get everything accurate and have some fun with it, whatever. But we definitely want to work in more of these interviews and live event coverage in particular. Like we would love to come around to there and get a press pass sort of a deal going.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Nathan's good people. I've worked with Nathan a very long time. Actually, I edited Nathan's book, Nathan Hanneman, the comic book. His definitive collection of horror comics. It's a great book.
Speaking of books,
Oh shit, that thing.
well, no, not that one just yet.
Okay.
Relax a second.
Okay, dude, I need to sell I'm only kidding.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we saw that you're a member of the WGA. It's like Writers Guild of America.
Mhm.
Looks like you were working on a script earlier this week.
I
I'm
did see a post about that. Is there anything you
one
can
of the
tell us about it?
coolest.
Or-
Yeah, one of the things I discovered, if I could ever fucking talk again,
Oh, you're good, man.
one of the things I discovered during my tenure at Dread Central was Paranormal Activity. We had the first review. We had
Mhm.
back before Paramount had any idea what this movie was. We were talking about it, especially me, because Oren, the director, was my neighbor. You
Oh,
know,
wow.
he lived 10
Of course.
minutes away from
You're just
where
how are you just neighbors with all the horror people, man?
I
How
don't
you
fucking know,
you're
dude.
living you're living my life.
My life is weird and charmed, and it's just fucking strange. And, the minute I saw it, I knew that shit was gonna blow up. I only ever staked my reputation on two films, and that was Paranormal Activity and Terrifier. You know, that's a pretty good track record. You
Oh,
know,
hell yeah.
Go check
and
out the Cinebytes episode on Paranormal Activity now, everybody.
there you go. I'm gonna watch that shit.
So speaking of writing and all that,
Wait, hang on. I know where I was going.
okay.
I got look. See, the inside of my head is like the yellow brick road.
Yeah.
Sometimes I end up in a haunted forest.
Sometimes people go this way, sometimes
Sometimes
people go
people go
that
that way.
way.
All times there's flying fucking monkeys going back and forth. So later on, around the time of the marked ones,
Okay.
I hate what happened to the Paranormal Activity franchise. I thought one, two was okay. 1 and 3 are the strong points of that series.
Mhm.
And 4 introduced all these stupid things, and it was just awful. And well, the Ghost Dimension didn't do any favors later.
Sure,
yeah.
And like 5 was great. I love the Mark ones.
Yeah, definitely.
And the Ghost Dimension was just, it's like they wrote themselves into a corner and didn't know how to get out of it.
Right.
I
So
thought you were going
years,
the other way with that when you started talking about the marked ones. I was like, oh shit, I love them.
no.
Yeah, it's
You
great.
know what's funny? The end of the marked ones, when when Katie finds Hector
Hmm.
in the garage,
Right.
I was actually standing on the other side of the garage while they were
Oh,
filming.
really? Nice.
Yeah, because they filmed that at Oren's house again. So
Wow.
yeah, that was trippy. And speaking of titles, like you have Cinebytes, right?
Mhm.
Hmm.
How has nobody made a parody called A Pair of Normal Activities?
Oh man.
Right.
It just
Wow.
makes so much fucking sense. Anyway,
Well, they did
what?
paranormal blacktivity.
Yeah, that's awesome. So after a few years and Paranormal Activity shit the fucking bed, the direction they wanted to go in, they had zero plans to make another one.
Hmm.
But I wanted to make another one. You know? I wanted to fix this fucking franchise. So I got with a couple of people and we wrote out this plan and we pitched it to Paramount and they bought it. Right? They're like, this is great. Everything makes sense now. There's a whole new fucking way to take it. And then it went to Blumhouse and we ended up getting that Amish movie
Next
instead,
of kin. Yeah.
even though they bought literally something that would have, from a fan standpoint, make everything make sense. So
Right.
once we sold that, that's when I got into the WGA.
Okay. Got
So
it.
that's how that came about. And now I have some really cool shit going on. I wish I could tell you about, but
All right.
I have
Well,
this
that's
one
that's
script.
the other thing I wanted to touch on a little bit too, because it was actually really, really unfortunate timing. The second that we got all the equipment and got all of our, art designed and everything and ready to get up off the ground, oh shit, now we got all these strikes. So it was the exact worst time to try to start something like this. But I was curious, being a writer, how did the strikes affect you personally?
It didn't because I wasn't really writing then, you know.
Okay.
During the strikes, at least the majority of them, that's when all the Terrifier shit was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I had some outlines in my head and some ideas that I wrote down. And I have this thing, if I have an idea, I'll write that shit down and just put it someplace, you
Right.
know? And during those times when nobody was working, I wrote quite a few things down, knowing that I couldn't do anything with them.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them has now sparked interest from a major production company. And, you know, we spoke to them and we're like, here's this thing, you interested? And they came back and they said, you know, I don't have any notes to give you. Write the script, you know? And that's a rarity, dude.
Right.
Like everything about this is so well baked and so I was like, well, all right. And now me and my partner Jed Shepard, who did host on
Mm-hmm.
a show.
That was great.
Okay. Oh
I'm
yeah.
writing this one with him, and we're just about done, and we're about to go through it again, and then we're going to present it to the production company. And I think it's a studio movie because there's a lot to it.
Sure.
So this isn't a low budget thing, you know? And now that while Jed is writing his parts of it, I dug out another thing. And I'm about 30 pages into the script and I fucking love it. I'm having so much fun with it. And the thing about when someone asks you or a studio buys something from you, I'm so sorry about this. We gotta do this again when I'm not ill.
Yes, please.
So the thing about studios is when they buy shit from you, they always ask what else you got.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not about to be sitting here with my dick in my hand. You know, I'm gonna be like,
Right.
I got this, you know. So I think this smaller budget project is that I'm having such a great time with because I'm fucking evil, as you can imagine. And I write like I speak. So dialogue is like really my strong suit.
Right. And all the coughs, you write in all the coughs and stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. And so that's going good. I think it has legs, but right now I am 99.9% sure that this other project I wrote with Jed is gonna fly
Hell yeah.
because it is fucking that crazy and nobody's ever done it before. And it's like the last frontier of a specific genre that no one's ever touched.
Oh yeah. Excited to see something about that.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy, dude.
Yeah, you had a lot of ups and downs, it seems. I noticed in another interview or not another interview, it was just a spot you did on something that you were actually there to witness 9/11.
Yeah.
That's insane. That's heavy as hell, man.
Wow.
Yeah, that now we're gonna have to talk about my book, whether you like it or not.
And that's where I'm getting, man.
You know, I'm not unique, man, at all. You know, my dad was a raging alcoholic, used to beat the shit out of me almost every day of my life. My mom worked constantly, was hardly there for me while all that was going on. Honestly, she didn't even really know that was going on. So I grew up in a really weird fashion where loss and anarchy and heartache and anguish were like my best friends, you know?
Right.
But I put them in such a way that I try to find the humor in them, even though it's not a funny situation. And one of the things I couldn't find, I mean, I found humor in my dad fucking torturing me, you know? But one of the things I couldn't find humor in was 9/11. And that's probably one of 3 chapters in the book that are written straight.
Mhm.
And they were actually the most unnerving chapters for me to write, because in order for me to do things like illustrate what 9/11 was like from a first person perspective,
Mhm.
there's so many things people don't know, you know.
Right.
There's so many things that people can't even imagine. But in order for me to be able to convey that, I had to step back and open up a door in here that I kept closed for so long.
Mhm.
And I really fucking let it out of my system, you know? I really let it out, you know? And that was my intention of writing this book, because I had all these fucked up things that happened to me. But there's never a moment in the book that I'm like, oh, woe is me, you
Right.
know?
Mhm.
It's just, this is what happened, man, and this is what I had to do to deal with it. And it was tough, you know, and I got it out. And I was gonna do the cathartic thing, right?
Right.
Like,
Right. Right.
oh, you write all this shit out and then you burn it, you know?
Mhm.
And that was my intention. So I had so many demons rattling around in here, you know,
Mhm.
that there's shit in that book I never told anybody, you know?
Yeah.
And
Right.
it took 4 years to write. And I was in California, and I had to run, you know, as often as I do sometimes. Life threw a hand grenade right on my whole shit, and everything exploded. And I ended up back on the East Coast, and I was living with the person who's now my wife. And that's so weird for me to even say. Danielle had said to me, you know, can I read this? And it was only half done at that point, right? And I'm like, fuck do you want to read this for? You know? This, you know everything about me. We've had long discussions.
There's got to be some
But
more intimacy though that comes out through that, you know.
and there definitely was, unbeknownst to me, because I
Mhm.
just going, you know, and
That's the
you
thing.
have
It is cathartic because it is a daunting task. Not only, just laying out the events one after another for your reader, but also facing it yourself while you're writing it.
yeah, yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's a really great way to put it. So she came back to me after a couple of hours. So she came to me in a couple of hours and she said, you can't burn this. That you have to finish this. You have to put it out there. And I'm like, why? You know? Because honestly speaking, no hyperbole. When someone comes to me, because I've dealt with a lot of celebrities, and a lot of whom have become personal friends, and they have said to me, I'm writing my autobiography. The first question I always ask them, because I may not tell you what you want to hear, but I'll tell
Mhm.
you what you need to hear. Their first question is always, my first question is always, what makes your life so interesting that you think somebody would want to read about it? And that's how I felt about mine. You know, I'm
Mhm.
not trying to be a dick, you know, but
No, I actually have a writing project I wanted to put out there, and I have a little outline of it. But that was part of what stopped me for a minute. Was like, yeah, who the fuck wants to read this? Why should anyone give a single shit about anything that
serious,
I have to say? You know?
serious. And I just fucking, she said, this is going to help somebody. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, what's in here is so relatable and so tragic and so funny, because I really have lived the strangest fucking life you can imagine. I don't wish my life on anybody. It was fucking, it's still insanity, you know? And after that, after she told me that, I just picked it up again and I finished it. And
Mhm.
then all the Terrifier stuff went down, and
regardless, there might be someone out there that needs to hear that from your perspective, you know?
Yeah, it was really interesting, and getting it out of my system was, it's still, I don't think I'll ever be rid of these demons, but I think now that I've exposed them, and I don't think anyone's really ready for how, and this is coming straight from the publisher, how personal this thing gets, and how, because I let it all fly, you
Mhm.
know? Um, I mean, yes. When I first sent the book to the publisher, they were like, they wanted it because it was me, you know? Because,
Mhm.
and thank you for that. That's a huge compliment, you know?
Right.
But they wanted it because it was Uncle Creepy that wrote it. So it's Uncle Creepy's book. So of course they want to put it out. And it's hard for me to even wrestle with that. But when they said that to me, I'm like, I think you should read it, you know? Because this isn't, Uncle Creepy sitting at a table fucking telling you all these
Yeah.
industry stories. I mean,
Yeah.
yes.
Bullshitting about horror in general. Yeah.
So a great deal of the book is about that, but there's so much more.
Mhm.
And they read it and they came back like, dude, this book kicked my ass. This is one of the best things that I've read. And anyone I've let read it has just gotten back to me with this amazing feedback that's very humbling. So the question came, as it does in this era of writing stuff or podcasting, whatever it is, there's going to be an audiobook version.
Right.
And obviously, everybody expects me to read it,
Right.
but I can't.
Yeah.
There are things there. I lived it, I wrote it. I can't read it. You know what I
Right.
mean? So, one of my good friends, an actor named Mark Redfield, who was last seen in Netflix's House of Usher,
Mhm.
he asked to read it. And he called me and he's like, I really want to do the audiobook version of this.
Mhm.
And he's like, I don't want to just read it. I want to perform this,
Yes.
you know, because the whole thing is written from the first person. So literally the book reads like you're sitting around at a table with me and I just tell you fucking everything from A to Z
Right.
and not hold any of it back. And he goes, there are parts in this book that are so powerful and so funny that just reading it isn't gonna cut it. It needs to
Yeah.
be performed. So Mark is having this wonderful person named Jennifer Rouse come up with an original score. They're going to come up with an original sound design, and he's actually going to perform it. So,
I'm 1,000% on board with that.
dude, you know how weird that is when a fucking actor wants to perform your life story? Is
No, I don't think it's weird at all. That's what I'm trying to say is like I mentioned we work for an audiobook publisher, so we deal with that stuff every day, you know. Um, it's strange and probably unexpected that working for an audiobook publisher, I'm not an audiobook guy. I usually cannot get into an audiobook because I feel like more often than not, the delivery is just so bland and surface level. And I'm with you. I need a performance. I was actually listening to, I love Edgar Allan Poe. So I was searching through our our drive of all of the audio we have, and I found an Edgar Allan Poe book and I turned it on.
which Edgar Allan Poe book?
It was just a collection of all of his works. And I started listening to it and it was just so I'm like, somebody get me in that studio, let me read this. I would love to give this the care that it deserves,
I got a
rather
recommendation
than
for you. Mark,
absolutely.
his company, Redfield Arts, so about 10 years ago, Jeffrey Combs did a, a play about Edgar Allan Poe called Nevermore.
Hell yeah.
And it was like, and of course, he performed it as Poe. And it was like as close to spending time with Edgar Allan Poe as I could ever hope to ever imagine. And Stuart Gordon directed it.
Hmm.
I mean,
Wow.
it was just this incredible thing. And Mark put out the audiobook version. and I highly recommend you check it out. It is
Hell yeah.
Okay.
fucking amazing, from captivating from the opening seconds to the closing.
I'll write a little note about that here. All right, awesome. I will be doing that for sure.
So I guess it's about time I tell you what the name of the book is.
Yes, please do.
That little thing. The name of my auto please.
So the audiobook version is going to sound like?
Yeah, it's gonna be 5 hours of me going. Like, do I got to do all the work? I got to read this fucking thing too. So fuck. What was I saying? There go the flying monkeys again. What was I saying?
You were giving us the name of your autobiography.
How the fuck do I not remember that I'm about to give you the name of my own autobiography?
If you aren't, we are.
Okay. So the name of the book is A Comedy of Tragedies. And when
Brilliant.
you read the book, if you read the book or listen to the audio, whatever the fuck it is, you'll understand the title
Mm-hmm.
and really get why it's called that. Because I have, as you could probably tell, I have a very warped sense of humor, gallows humor, you know?
Right.
It's all in there, man. And it comes out on December 10th. And if you go to Encyclopocalypse, the website, and pre-order it, you get a signed copy, which they're sending me to sign,
Mhm.
and you get a free audiobook version. So,
Nice.
and plus you get it 2 weeks before street date if you pre-order it.
Hell yeah. Which I think pre-orders went up May 9th, if I'm not mistaken. So they're going now. And yeah, I think I saw something about a free signed book plate.
Yeah,
Not sure what that
book
means,
plates.
but
Book plate? I didn't know what the fuck it meant either. Because, dude, don't ever think just because I've been in this industry 31 years almost, like I have any fucking clue what I'm doing.
right.
So yeah, they're like, yeah, we'll send you book plates. And I'm like, I don't know what a fucking book plate is. I'm thinking,
That's what I said.
Totally.
wait, that looks like a book. What the fuck is this? Right?
Is it a bookmark?
Essentially, what it is it's a specific sticker made for the book that I can sign and mail back to them, and then they put one on each book.
Okay.
It's a book plate. And I was like, shit, that's amazing. And if you guys want a review copy, I think they're going to be available in like 2 weeks.
Hell yeah.
And I'll put you in touch with the people to get it, because it's
Yeah.
It'd be great.
Please.
especially doing what you're doing. There's probably a lot of shit in there. You'll be like, yeah, I need to listen to this because this
Right.
fucking mind.
Like I said, we don't know what the fuck we're doing. We've just been pumping out episodes since October, you know?
Yes, and that's how you do it. Nobody gets that, dude. Everyone always thinks that there's some prep or something, or I mean, I guess that could work for somebody, but speaking for myself personally, I have never, and this is the God's honest truth, I have never prepped for a single thing I've done.
Yeah.
From this show to producing to anything you can think of, I have never prepped for a fucking thing. And
It's working.
I'll give you a perfect example. This isn't in the book.
Ooh, behind
At
the
the height
scenes.
of my popularity at Dread Central, the biggest event every year was always obviously Comic-Con. And one of their shows that was getting a lot of buzz at this point in time was a show called Z Nation. And so in one of the main halls, I did the Z Nation panel for 4 years in a row, having never, I mean, in front of thousands of people, having never seen a single episode of the series.
Mm-hmm.
Not one. And everybody was like, this is like the best panel and it's so much fun.
Yeah, guess why?
Yeah. And it's not because I didn't want to watch the show, but I was just so busy. And, you know, I can wing it. And I know what fans want to hear because I am a fan. I'm a glorified fan. I'll die a fan. And you know what? I'll be honest with you, man. I've been attached to some huge projects that did incredibly well that'll be around long after I'm gone. But to be very honest with you guys, I'm not a dime richer now than I was when I started.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Richer in what sense though? Because might not be financially.
that's
However,
that was just what I was about to say. Monetarily, I'm still living like I always did. A little bit better, not much,
sure.
because I grew up learning to live with nothing, you know, and I'm a fucking cockroach and I refuse to go away. And I may not have hit the bank jackpot monetarily, hopefully yet. That'd be nice. But at the end of the day, working in this industry and doing the shit that I've done has made so many of my own dreams come true and gives me so much shit personally that I never would have had if I wasn't a stubborn asshole and refused to take no for an answer.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone who, and there have been a lot of them, man, my whole life, all I ever heard, even when I was in the thick of doing this with Dread Central, so many people would say to me, why don't you do something else? You know, this isn't paying the bills. And I'm like, but this is the only thing I do that I feel like I'm alive. You know, I'm
Mm-hmm.
alive when I'm being Uncle Creepy. Uncle Creepy is just me turned up to 11, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Right.
And the people who did that and said that, in my eyes, man, they're just motherfuckers who forgot how to dream, you
Yeah.
know? And they will probably end up not being anything more than they are right now because they've become so complacent. And they say things like that out of jealousy because you
Right.
refuse to give up and you don't want to let go of your dreams.
Mm-hmm.
I could tell everyone listening to this or watching it, or I don't know what the fuck you guys do, but I'm going to check it out because you have a paranormal activity exercise episode. And I'm all
Oh
in.
yeah.
And an Exorcist one. You almost said that.
You know, so at the end of the day, I wouldn't change a thing, man. And I will still do this, successful or not. Because I
Yeah.
think success is measured by this instead of this.
Yes, please.
So if
There's
you if you want to do this like you guys are doing right now, this is
Mm-hmm.
the way to do it. You have to just keep at it and not get fucking frustrated. And even though that's so impossible, because you're going to have these moments in your lives when you're trying to become something and add something to this industry, just because you feel like you want to honor it in some way, you need to honor yourself too and
Yeah, it'll
realize
come. Right.
you can do this and reach some degree of success. Because I could tell you, if this jackass street kid with a GED level education could end up doing the things that I've ended up doing, I've shit in the toilets of legends, people. Legends. I've been in
Yeah,
their
hell yeah.
bathrooms dumping
Hell
me.
yeah.
Okay. I can do that. Anybody can. Just hold
Yeah.
on to your dream and go and do it.
You mentioned the whole prep versus passion thing, and I feel like I'm getting a better handle on it because for our first interview, I wrote out, very meticulously, like, here are the questions we'll ask and the order we'll ask them in. For this one, I'm just throwing like, okay, here's some notes on this, just say something about that, whatever. So, it's definitely a lot more loosey goosey, but we also mentioned in our introductions episode that like we ain't nobody. You know what I mean? Like, we don't know anybody in the industry. We're not ourselves in the industry or anything like that. We're just a couple of dudes hanging out that love horror, want to share that passion with other people, and we know there's a hell of a world out there ready to share it with us. So we just want to be those guys and make sure that the power of horror is perpetuated in whatever way we can.
Absolutely, dude. And you know what? I don't care if just one person is tuning in for this.
Mhm.
I'm giving my all to that one person, you
Yeah.
know?
Right.
And that's what you got to do. That's how you have to carry yourself. You
Right.
have to remember that nobody's going to give this to you. You have to go out there and take it and earn it, you
Right.
know, and always remember it's not about you, it's about what you love. And a lot of people get lost along the way because I know so many people that have been in the industry and met with some degree of success who have all of a sudden thought the whole thing is about them. And it's fucking not, dude. And those people end up crashing and burning. And while they
Yeah.
may hit it big for a while, sooner or later that other shoe is going to drop. And if they're not prepared for it, you better hope they have good survival
Right.
skills. Because I could tell you what, I do. I will not fucking go away. And I will always keep trying in it only because I love this shit, dude. I
Yeah,
love
1000%.
horror fans, man. We're not, it's not about fandom in the general sense. It's who we are. And
Yeah,
we bleed for this shit. I got Romero tattoos. You know what I mean?
exactly.
This stuff is who we are. It's ingrained in us. And you know what? I got to tell you, I've been to a million shows over the years, every kind of show you can imagine. And the horror crowd is the fucking coolest, you
Hell
know?
yeah.
And the people, the peers of the horror industries, the George Romeros, the Sid Haigs, anyone you could even think of. I've never seen a baseball star go to a signing that started at 12 and ended at 4 and not leave at 4.
Right.
I have
Right.
seen George Romero get to a convention at 9 a.m. and stay until 8:30 at night until every single person that showed up to see him got time to speak with him and get an autograph.
Hell
Right.
yeah.
It's just the way it is, man.
It was funny, I thought earlier that you mentioned the like parallels to the Wizard of Oz because I have a favorite quote from the Wizard of Oz, from the wizard himself. And it is a heart is not measured by how much you love, but by how much you are loved by others. I think that really rings true, especially in a community of people that, yeah, are searching for people like, you know, with like mindsets. But at the end of the day, it's about acceptance. It's about sharing that love, passion with other people that you know also share that, you know?
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah, 1000%. Well, you got anything else you want to touch on, Jason?
I don't think so. I want to thank you for the time. It was great finally getting our ducks lined up and getting to get this interview with you.
Mm-hmm.
It
Hell
was
yeah.
my pleasure. And I'll come back anytime you want. And, for what it's worth, you say, I don't know anybody in the industry. Well, you fucking do now.
Hey,
Right.
and you know, a lot of horror is I've been accused a couple of times of like really seeking out a mascot. You know, Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, Art the Clown, whoever. I think I got another one, Uncle Creepy. If you need a spoopy little nephew, I will gladly fill that role for you, man.
I'll take it.
Hell yeah. Well, once again, A Comedy of Tragedies releases December 10th, 2024. You can pre-order now and get that super cool free signed book plate, whatever that whatnot. You explained it. One last thing, man. Where can people find you if they're searching out social media and whatnot?
Well, in public, I'm a bald guy with facial hair. As I stated, there's 10 of us anywhere at any time. Fighters. On Twitter, I'm at Uncle Creepy. On TikTok, I'm Uncle Creepy SB.
Well, you
On
know, you've
on
got
Instagram, I'm Uncle Creepy SB.
you have a
Yeah,
generic enough name, by the way, that I was searching some stuff up about you, and I pulled up a Wikipedia, and it was like, oh yeah, actor, producer,
I have a
dancer,
Wikipedia page.
choreographer, and all of a sudden it was like died, August, whatever. I'm like, oh shit, wait a minute, are
Oh,
we
that's
are
the
we
other
interviewing a
Barton.
ghost? Another Steve Barton?
Yeah.
He actually played the Phantom of the Opera, so I'm okay with that.
Oh, wow.
So wherever you're looking, either Steve Barton or Uncle Creepy, you're bound to find him, right?
Yeah, especially if you search all the names together.
Hell yeah,
But on
there we go.
Instagram, I think I like Instagram best, just because it like I always have stupid shit going on in my head,
Yeah.
It's brought about by shit that I currently am looking at. So that like Instagram is like you're in my head with the flying monkeys. It's fucking weird.
Well, I had a good time today jumping around with the flying monkeys today. We hope you had a great time too, man. Once again, everyone, if you want to find Uncle Creepy, you can do so on socials. If you would like to find us on socials, we are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and you have a YouTube. You can find us in all of those places at CinebytesPod. If you want to contact us, you can do so at cinebytespod@gmail.com. And if you feel so inclined, if you want to support the show, you can do so at our aggregate website, cinebytespod.buzzsprout.com. Yeah, exactly.
It's $1, guys. A fucking dollar.
Listen to the man. As always, everybody, dreams are fleeting. Only nightmares last forever.
Never sleep again.